Today is Wednesday, Parashat Behaalotecha. The parasha this week has in it two pesukim that tell us that when the Ark, when the Aron Kodesh traveled, when he journeyed, Moshe would say, "Arise Hashem, and may your enemies be scattered in front of you." And when he would rest, Moshe would say, "Reside amongst the multitudes of the Jewish people." But these two pesukim seem to be a little bit out of place in terms of the order of what comes before it and what comes after it. And as an odd situation, there is a before the first pasuk and after the second pasuk. There are symbols that are like basically a reverse nun, as if to say that these are parentheses, that to tell you that these two pesukim, according to some of the opinions, just don't belong there. So why are they put there? And what comes after these two pesukim is two really bad situations that happened. One is that Jewish people complained. They were complainers, vaya'am kemitonenim, and the people took to seeking complaints. And after that comes also the fact that they had a avuta ava, that cravings. They said they miss all this food they ate in Egypt. Zacharnu et adaga, we remember the fish, asher nochal b'mitzrayim chinam, that we ate in Egypt for free of charge. They had the best type of food, the manna, but yet they had this craving for these other foods. And she says these two pesukim come to separate between bad situations. So we can see the bad situations after, but what is the bad situation before? And when we look, it's hard to really notice something of a problem there. But the Ramban explains. Before that pasuk, there is there's two pesukim. There is a statement in the Torah, "Vayis'u mehar Hashem, derech sheloshet yamim." They traveled, they journeyed away from the mountain of Hashem. And the Ramban says, and using his language, he says, "Shenas'u mehar Hashem besimcha ketinok haboreach mibet hasefer." That they traveled from the mountain of Hashem, from Mount Sinai. Besimcha, they were happy to leave. Ketinok, just like a child, haboreach mibet hasefer, who runs away from the school. At the end of the school year, he can't wait to leave. Amru, they said, Shema yarbe ve'iten lanu mitzvot. Maybe he's going to give us more mitzvot. It's like a child says, we don't want any more homework. They want to leave fast. That was something that was a bad situation. This is what the Ramban says. This is what the idea that they traveled from the mountain of Hashem. Shaita machshevatam le'asiyah atzam misham mipnei shehu har Hashem. Because their intention was to travel away from there because it was har Hashem. Because it was the mountain of Hashem. They were concerned that it would be more mitzvot that we see. In other words, they didn't want to get other mitzvot to fulfill. And it's sort of like we're happy to run away, to journey away from the Mount Sinai. That was the first bad situation. So these two pesukim, in parentheses, come to separate between the idea of living joyfully, so to speak, the mountain of Hashem, the Mount Sinai, and the next troubles, which were complaining and having all these cravings that they spoke about. And here we learn an important principle, that the mitzvot, that receiving the Torah should be something that's so important and so dear to us that we're not happy to leave such an important place as Mount Sinai. And every single day, every day that we have mitzvot, when we come to the synagogue to pray, when we're involved in doing an act of kindness, we should value the mitzvah that we're doing and be happy in doing it, not in leaving the mitzvah. Leaving the mitzvah, I should say, well, I wish I could still continue being involved in Islam, and not just finally, have this load off my shoulders. And that's considered to be such a negative thing that the Torah put these two pesukim to separate from the other troubles, so there wouldn't be three bad situations one after the other. After those two pesukim, we have the complainers and we have the cravings. Before was this idea of running away from the haram, from the mountain of Hashem. We wouldn't want three things, successive things, to be as three successive bad situations, because that would create a kind of a track record. We don't want to have three successives that create something that is a chazakah. That's something that would most likely repeat itself again and again. So that's why there is that separation, and the idea is to always be happy with doing mitzvot and never be happy with leaving a place where a mitzvah. And by the way, that's why they say when you walk to synagogue, you can walk fast. But when you leave the synagogue, you leave with not as fast steps, slower steps. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.